Well, hello. Thanks for joining us today, everyone. This is our weekend edition of Hebrew Word Study. Apologize for being a day late, but I wish all of you a wonderful past weekend. Hopefully, you got to enjoy some time off as I did. But this study today that has been something that has bothered me for a long period of time. And I came across something that finally answered a question that has just, puzzled me. And so I wanted to share this with you. Again, I'm kind of bouncing back and forth in a lot of places. Um, just where my studies take me and the things that are impressed upon me. Maybe it's God's leading. I'll attribute that if you like it and if it feels right to you. Otherwise, it's just maybe my type of study that bounces back and forth a little bit. But what I'm going back to here is the book of Matthew, chapter 2 and verse 12. Again, very familiar passage of scripture. We've actually been through it before. I did not have this understanding back when I posted something on this months ago, but this has to do with the star. I spent time talking about the star itself, and again, we don't know exactly what it was like, and um, it's a mystery. But there was one part that always was even more mystifying, and that is that the Magi, and we spent some time talking about them. It is always assumed and basically held as fact that they came from Arabia, which would be east of Bethlehem, Israel, and that they traveled towards the west. But yet the Bible verse says that they saw his star in the east. And of course, geographically, this is just an impossibility. And so, we know this was no ordinary star, of course. So, how did it rise? And again, just always very strange. Well, I came across something that I want to share with you. It's actually, um, as we look at this word here, this word is uh, B'mitzrach, and so it has the Beit, Mem, Zion, Resh, and then a Het, and translated everywhere as east. You look it up in the lexicons, both Aramaic and Hebrew, and it will have in the east. Of course, we know the Beit is a preposition meaning in, and so the word that we look up is the Mem, Zion, Resh, and Het, and it's always attributed to the east. Um, but I was reading through a book that I just got that I want to share with you. It's called Jesus Through Middle Eastern Eyes, a Cultural Study in the Gospels. Um, Not too expensive, $20 Kindle, 21 paperback. I think I bought it for $11 on a used book site called Abe's Books. Fantastic study reference that I've never uh, followed this deep in some of these things. And the author, Ken Bailey, brought out about this word um, being having to do with the rising, and that the Magi, those coming from Arabia, didn't see the star rise in the east, they saw the star rise. And so I wanted to see if I could verify that. And so started looking at the definitions and realized that this mem here can be a preposition meaning what or from. And so with that, I dropped the preposition and started looking for the Zion, Resh, and Het. And really, really something here. I look it up in Marcus Jastro's. Here's a Zion Resh Het, and it has the word to rise and talks about the sun rising. And suddenly this all started to make sense that Hebrew words in their antiquity come from the um, the verb of what is really happening. And so as these ancients were observing the world around them, they would see that the sun would rise every morning. But where did it rise? It rose in the east. And so the word for the rising, uh, from the rising, would be eventually equated to the east because that is what they observed rising. It was a phenomenon that happened every day. You'll find in the Greek something very similar happens in the word for east is I believe it's atole, and that is the eastern part of what was then the Grecian Empire. It was as far east as anyone had ever gone, and so that name for that region became the name to associate east, and we translated east in our English translations, but it's really a word that means a region that's to the east of Greece. So I find this very fascinating here and helps answer this question that the Magi saw the star from its rising, and from its rising, they went to follow. So just to back this up, I want to go to my other um, lexicon here, and this is the Gesenius's. And as we look this up, here is the Zion Resh Chet, and he has it as the rising of light, and gives a reference in Isaiah chapter 60, verse 3 to put some reference to this. And so this is a big thing for me to have um, feel that I understand this situation much better now that the star from its rising was followed by the Magi who came from Arabia and headed towards the west. So this is really takes care of that understanding. In the midst of this, I came across something that I thought was very interesting. Um, the um, Hebrew Jewish Parsha, which is their weekly studies of the of Torah, the first five books, Genesis through Deuteronomy, covered, and this was a while ago that they covered this, the building of the tabernacle. And there's many fascinating studies here, but this one came to me, Rav Kook Torah. So Rav is rabbi, short for rabbi. And here it talks about something called the stars in the tabernacle. And he says this is an interesting tradition as the tapestries were covered in the tabernacle, they were held up by golden fasteners that here he's saying the gold fasteners would sparkle against the background of the rich tapestry like stars twinkling in the sky. And he goes on to talk about the stars and constellations and how they're used, created by God, how they're used by God, but as I read this, something just resonated in my spirit that if you were to be in the tabernacle and standing at the front and looking towards the back, you would see that the tabernacle would look like it would be narrowing, kind of called the Doppler effect in science. You know, it's like when you look down a set of train tracks and you look down far enough, it looks like they converge on a point in the distance. But here in the tabernacle, the these golden fasteners would be sparkling from the light of the menorah of the candlesticks in the tabernacle, like as he describes them, stars twinkling in the sky, but they would be converging towards the back of the tabernacle. And we all know what's at the back of the tabernacle, and that is the Holy of Holy place where the presence of God dwelt, where the God's mercy seat and the Ark of the Covenant was resident. And again, this is a stretch, of course. It's just my uh, inkling, or what comes to my heart as I read these and the things that resonate. And I put this together and connected the two events of the star that the Magi followed, taking them to the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, the one who would shed his blood on the mercy seat, and the connection between God's presence that dwelt in the Shekinah, or the uh, mercy seat area in the tabernacle, and these stars that pointed towards the power and presence of God. I saw these as just a supportive story that just helped confirm just how wonderful the Bible fits together, how wonderful God's plan and purpose supports one another, and that there are so many wonderful things that we glean from the Jewish studies that they didn't even really know about were fulfilled, and we see them all being types and shadows of a fulfillment in what God has done through His coming to the earth and being born and through the gospel message. And so just wanted to share that with you. I found it fascinating. It just helps me feel like we have a great um, ability to study and just feel the heart of God, feel the love that He has for us by giving us these little insights and these little emotional moments of understanding that draw us nearer to Him. You know, how can you not feel like you're drawn near to God when He reveals just beautiful little things like this to confirm His word and confirm who He is and that He's always in control? So, God bless all of you. Hope you enjoy this study. Thanks again for listening and take care, and we'll see you next time.